Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unfiltered Vet Discussions. My name is Kelly, and I'm being joined by Phil and David and Jenny. You can see all about us at unfilteredvetdiscussions.com and our social media. Today we are talking about actually. Man, today was a day, is what we're saying. Like, we've all had that where you're like, well, how's your day going? Oh, man, today's a day, right? And then we all have different ways of coping with when a day becomes a day, capital letters, bold, underline, however you want to do it. And usually a day becomes the day when we're being asked to do things we don't want to do for whatever reason. That may even be like just showing up for work. I don't want to. I want to stay in bed. I want to have the dog pile on me, the sun shining on me. Why do I have to move? Well, because there's responsibilities. So let's talk about a day in capital letters days. How do you cope? What do you happen when the wheels fall off the bus in the hospitals when everybody's having a day? And how do you change around that when we don't want to? So I'm throwing that out there on the floor.
Oh, this is a good one. So I actually just had a coaching call with some hospitals this morning, and it was that, what do we do when people call out and then this happens and this happens? And so what I would say, before the day even starts, we already know in our mind how that day is going to end. It's going to be a train wreck. It's going to be a firefight. Like, everything is going to go to hell. And we've all worked it up, in our minds that it's going to be a horrible day. So we're trash before we even start. And the damn thing is that our brains can't tell the difference, whether it is a train wreck day or we just imagine it, because there's such an overlap in the power of our thoughts. And so we experience all those emotions as though we're having a train wreck day before it even started.
Yeah.
And so that's, I would say, before we even get started on how do we deal with, or how do we address, volatility, uncertainty. The military talks about VUCA. That's a, kind of a buzz term in, in executive management. But the first thing is just how am I perceiving right now in this moment what's going to happen? Like, if this person calls out, then this is going to happen. And then if we don't have our surgery tech, then we're going to have to cancel our surgeries. And then those people are going to go online, and then they're going to complain, and then they're going to make this. And if that happens, then I'm going to have to answer all those reviews. And then while I'm answering those reviews, the other phones are going to come, and then I'm going to get fired. I'm never going to get another job like this. I'm never going to amount to anything. And I'm going to live in my car with my 27 birds. And yes, we have 27 birds, and it's 8:30.
And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy,
right?
Because you've set that expectation, and your mind goes there. So the filter you just placed in front of your experiences for the day, point in that direction. It could be something great happened, but you're going to perceive it as, it's just another one of those things. And everything's going to heck in a handbasket.
Yeah. I told you this always happens. This always happens. And then, because we don't look at all the good stuff that happens either.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother show. Jenny, go on.
What I was going to say is, first of all, I hope you never have to live in your car with 27. That just sounds awful, especially from a non-bird lover.
I would take her with me too.
So. Oh, okay. Oh, that's great. What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Right.
Snacks.
I hope you have a full-size van. It was so this is funny. We do one-on-ones. I'm sitting down with each of my team members, and one of the questions that I asked them was, tell me one of the best days in the last 2 weeks. I wanted something recent. Tell me one of the best days in the last 2 weeks. The majority of my texts said, on this day, 2 people called out, all hell was breaking loose. We came together, nobody complained, everybody was in a great mood, and we got through it, and all of our patients were taken care of. And I said, so you're telling me that one of your best days in the last 2 weeks was a day that exactly, Phil, what you were saying. You woke up and thought, oh, I got this text at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I got another text at 6:15, and then everybody's out. And I know everybody, my team does this. Oh God, how are we going to do this? Blah, 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 blah. And yet when we all get here, everybody just calms down. How are we going to make this work? We didn't cancel our surgeries. Our clients are taken care of. No one got fired and has to live in their car with 27 birds, right? Like, all is not just okay, but great. You know, I have found that when we are because we do 24-hour emergency care, we have serious emergencies come in sometimes, hit by cars and horrible porcupine quills and, all sorts of things, colic horses, goat dystocias, whatever. When all hell is breaking loose, that's when my team shines. That's when they're amazing. So when they come in and they start with that attitude that, I don't know how we're going to do this, I'll say, remember, one of your favorite days in the last 2 weeks was when we were shorthanded and we all came together. And sometimes you just need somebody to flip that script, right? To remind you that there are positives, that we can get through this, that I didn't handpick this team from a bunch of nobodies. No. I picked the best, and we are the best, and we're going to work together like the best, and we're going to get through this. And by the end of the day, everybody's happy. And yes, maybe I, as a practice manager, have to run and grab pizza for everybody. Fine. I don't care. I'll go run and grab pizza. I'll grab Dunkin' Donuts. What do you want? If that gives you the energy to get through, you want me to go to the store. Sometimes they're like, Jenni, I just need like fruit. Okay, I'll run to the store and get you fruit. That's fine. But, we can do that. And it's just one person, and it can be anybody. It doesn't have to be a doctor. It doesn't have to be a practice manager. It doesn't have to be an owner. It can be anybody to say, hey, guys, it's going to be a tough day, but this is the best team ever, and we're going to get through this. And all of a sudden, it's okay.
Yeah, you shifted the perception just
Yes.
by, hey, this is a challenge, let's do it, instead of, oh, look at the mess we're in, we got to grind it.
Right. It is still a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, is whether you're thinking, it's the whole, what is it, Henry Ford, whether you think you can, you think you can't, you're right. If you think it's going to be a horrible day, guess what? Yeah, it's going to be a horrible day. If you think it's going to be a great day, it's going to be a great day. And every single person in the team is responsible for that attitude and responsible to bring that vibe. And so, but somebody has to flip the script from, oh my God, it's going to be an awful day, to, nah, we've done worse.
We've got this.
Remember COVID? We've done worse. It'll all be okay, Sometimes we just have to say that we've been through worse. We can do this, and it'll be okay. Yeah. And it will be, and it always is. And they're like, Jenni, why do you always say it's going to be fine? I'm like, tell me a time it hasn't been. Because realistically, we're all right. We make it through.
There's the phrase, it'll all be good by the end. If it's not good, it's not the end.
Ooh,
I like that. Another good one. Yeah. But it is like we manifest our own realities, right? And I know we were talking about this in some other podcasts. It starts within us. And we get to choose how we want to live today. And people don't realize that's a choice. They're like, they think everything else is swaying them around, like traffic or the weather or their families or whatever. Like, they don't get to make those choices. You get to make the choice. I may not get to choose what happens to me today. I may get a flat tire on the way to work, right? But how I deal with that flat tire is my choice. How I look at it is my choice. Maybe that flat tire was a gift from God and saved me from a major 5-car pileup that you hear about later, that you would have been right there at that spot if your tire hadn't been flat. Like, you think about those things sometimes, like when you hear major events happen, you're like, that could have been me and it wasn't. So where are my blessings in all of this?
Bill, when you have those conversations about like you were having that conversation today, how do you suggest that people like implement not having the doomsday thoughts? Like, do you have any tips or tricks, like, oh, here's your magic fairy dust and here's how you're going to be positive?
Can I get magic fairy dust that glitters?
Well, and so there's a couple ways to do it. So the one is hunting the good stuff, meaning that, like you said, and we would do this too, is tell me about, like, at the end of the day, it's like the easiest thing is what went well. As like everybody, if I call anybody at the end of how was your day? Oh, this client was this, and this patient did this, and no, it's what went well, and like forcing us to look at the good. And now this isn't toxic positivity. But this is saying that we have a negativity bias as human beings. And I will tell you, on a factor of 10 to 15 to 1, good things happen in a veterinary hospital versus challenging or bad things. It's just, that's the way it is. How do I know that? Because we did it. Is that we looked at those things and took track of them. Reason why that's important is that if we do that every day, it gives us kind of a suit of armor against when challenging stuff happens. This is all evidence-based stuff. But then the cool thing is when I get in that catastrophic thinking, is one, we've said it before, is like, hey, we've already been through something like this. It's fine. We'll handle it. Like, and then also understanding, like, where do I end up? Where does my catastrophic thought usually end? Does it end with, and that's when I'm going to end up living in my car with 27 birds? Is like, is that, but we all go to somewhere. And so the flip side, the cool thing is that what we can do is then use that opposite and then say, well, okay, well, if somebody called out today, so we might be short. So what'll probably happen is, well, somebody's going to be short. Somebody's going to have read something about, veterinary medicine on the internet and how they need to be nice to their veterinarians. They're going to come in. Their cousin is going to be Oprah. Oprah is going to find out that we're short today. She happens to be in town. She's going to come in. She's going to buy a car for everybody. She's going to donate $1 million to everybody here to save every animal. And we're going to save everyone. And it's like, that is like, it's also it's as great as that, it's ridiculous too, but it's as ridiculous as somebody calls out, it's the end of the world, is that we make those jumps in logic and get all the way to the end of the world. But what we do is we induce that positive emotion. We change our brain chemistry. And then that makes it a more fertile ground for us to say, okay, Oprah's not going to show up and give us $1 million. So what's going to happen? We're probably going to do like we always do. And we're going to kick ass and we're going to take care of the patients. Half of these, or not half, some of these patients probably aren't going to show up and we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And that's the end result. But that catastrophic thinking, that stress response, when it kicks in, it triggers this response that it's hard to outthink that when it goes in. So we have to learn some of these tools. So that's the best one I like, is the worst case, best case, most likely scenario exercise.
And you get a car and you get a car.
You get a car. Right.
Yeah.
And that's it. Right.
It is the thinking part, right? Like that is one skill. Another one is learning to stop yourself when you see it happen and learning your triggers. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, I've worked on this. When I start thinking negative in my own mind, I know, because I've looked at it enough, that I'm exhausted and that I am not allowed then to think anymore about these things until I get some sleep, right? That's my personal cue. And that may not be for everybody. That's just what I personally realized is my worst negative thinking, spiraling out of control, doomsday scenario happens when I am exhausted. Yep. So what do I do? What are the steps I need to take at that moment to pull myself back from that brink? And then also do like what you're doing, Phil, is thinking, what's the opposite of it? I have to stop, recognize it, and then go to what you say. What is the best possible outcome there? So, and that's different for everybody, Jenni. Maybe a lot of us are the same. I mean, we're not always very good when we're tired. Humans don't.
And just want to chime in, the best acronym for that is HALT. When we talk about that in recovery, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Like, so if we're in HALT, like we check ourselves, like, okay, I'm feeling a certain way right now. Have I eaten? Like, am I ticked off about something? Am I feeling isolated, or do I have this idea that nobody cares about me right in this moment? Or am I running on 2 hours of sleep and drinking Code Red and eating fire Cheetos? Like, that was what I used to, I'd laugh because I think we talked about this about your husband. I'm like, my God, we had the same vet school diet.
I married you. Like,
what is
I don't know how your stomach's still intact.
Right.
It's funny. It's interesting because this is the stuff that I have my team meetings about, is I don't talk about like the nitpicky, hey, make sure that we're, putting on our lead aprons when we take x-rays, blah, blah, blah. That's all stuff that I keep for Slack. What I do is we talk about kind of this kind of stuff. And I got everybody gratitude journals. And I said, I swear to you, there is evidence that if you practice gratitude, not just say, oh, I'm thankful for blah, 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 but practice gratitude every day and I think it's like 21 or 28 days. It flips your brain to start focusing on the positive. And I have had team members come up to me and they're like, can I get another journal? Yes, you can. And a journal for you and a journal for you. I'll be Oprah. I don't care. But
Yeah.
it's so important before I go to bed every night, 3 things that I'm grateful for. And it does make you focus on the positive and you wake up. It's so simple and people find it really difficult. And we have something on the door. I can't remember exactly what it says, but on the door that everybody leaves from to get out to their cars. And it says, think about who you helped today. Are you okay? Do like a self check-in. Are you okay? Do you need to talk about anything? Who'd you help today? What were the 3 best things that happened today? Like how can we, because you're right, Phil, in that people, when you ask somebody how their day is, oh, I got bitched out by blah, 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 who was mad at, what, and all we do is focus on that one client and we don't focus on the 40 that we helped. We don't focus on all those wins, the patients that, came in and loved to eat the cheese because they love us so much. And the people who came in and gave us hugs. And so we have to flip that switch. Yeah.
And why is it? And you brought up a great point too, is why is it as soon as I ask you why, you're like, oh, this client did that, because I've been thinking about it all damn day. Like, it's like, oh, this, I'm going to the next room and then this, and so, an emotion only, this is so cool. An emotion only has a 90-second half-life in the body. The way that we continue emotions is thinking about it. Remember that 88% overlap in what I see and what I imagine to be real. Like the more, so when I perseverate on it, boom, 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 and we keep getting hit with those emotions. And I just want to share too on gratitude, because this is a big thing for me, is that, so you'll know, like I'm in long-term recovery, and I would go, like I would feel myself getting fired up, and I have a journal in the drawer of my office, pull it out, and I just start writing down a gratitude list, like things that I'm grateful for. And what's amazing is that for me, it's like once I get to about like 10 to 15 things, I just feel differently. Now, part of that is the stress responses let go, but it changes my perception of the world around me. And I go back out there and nothing out there, like all the stuff that was happening out there is still out there, but I'm different, like I'm in a different mindset. And it changes, and I mean this sincerely, is it changed the way I felt faster than a shot of vodka or anything, that I used to artificially use to change my mood. Like gratitude really, because I believe in it, but gratitude really, really puts me in that spot. And it's not for everyone. It's not a panacea, but it's a really, really powerful intervention. So David, you were going to say something. I cut you off, I think.
No, I think what you just mentioned, though, is spot on. It's a tool. It's a process that can help. There are many processes that when this change is put on you, as opposed to making change yourself, but when it's put on you, does your entire team have these tools that, okay, that one's not good for me, but this one is, let's get in the back and just hash it out in the storage room and come up with a plan and go team. But does your staff have some of those tools? And Jenni, I love the fact that your meetings are about some of this and culture and development and personal growth, not protocols and what to do X, Y, Z. That's better dealt with elsewhere. But to invest in the individual and providing some of these skills so that, oh, hey, we recognize we're in a moment of change that's being thrust on us. How are we collectively going to respond? I love it. One of the management groups I'm in, she threw out, I don't remember if I've mentioned this before, but Dr. Wood, we're in-depth discussion on this, and she just said, when I hear that, my reaction is, but my response will be, and I thought, oh, I like that. And I'm trying to hammer that in on myself and even at home with my boys. I'm like, yeah, that's your reaction, but how are you going to respond? And recognize that difference, because it's got to go through that cortex membrane and be reshaped.
Gosh, we were just talking about in that call this morning is the reflex is like, the doctor hit me on the knee and I kick, I have a reflex, like that reaction. I can't stop it, but if the problem for me and for a lot of us is then I judge myself on my reaction and not my response, is that, oh, I shouldn't react that way, or I shouldn't do this, and I should all over myself, as they say. But just meaning is like, I love that separation, is just honoring that is a human reflex, and that what is important is how I choose to then process that and respond. So it's a great thing. But yeah, awesome. Thanks, David.
I've thanked her many times for that phrase.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's the simple stuff, isn't it?
I think it's hard because, right, it is tough. I think in another one, you said something about we all like to be on moral high ground, right? Like we all like to feel really good about ourselves and I'm better than this person. But when you have those gut reactions that only you know that you're like not on that moral high ground and you just wish death on somebody or, but you have that horrible, that just 2-second thought. You don't act on it. And you don't do it. And we have to forgive ourselves for those feelings. And we talk about this. I talk about this all the time with my team because I don't know, sometimes I think I say all the time that women are really mean to each other and we're worse to ourselves. You get that catty, gossipy, nasty, horrible thing. And if we're acting that way to each other, we act that way to ourselves. And so we've talked a lot in our team about forgiving ourselves and being okay with, you're allowed to feel these feelings. You are allowed to be angry. You are allowed to be sad. You are allowed to have a very intense conversation with someone and then walk away and joke around with somebody else. That's okay if that's your response, but you can't, hit somebody. You can't cuss somebody out. You can't respond in those ways, but right. It's okay to be mad and it's okay to be upset and it's okay to feel these things, but process that emotion. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about here is taking time to process it and how can I change my mindset? And I just think, Phil, it's so stinking cool that you talk to people about this stuff that like, they're like, it is because I don't think we talk about it enough. And that was the first time that I saw you speak. You were talking about psychological safety. I'm like, oh my God, this is like my kind of guy. Like, this is what I love because I don't think we talk about it enough, and that it's okay to have these conversations. It's okay for things to not go right. And it's okay to move along. And I don't know. I just think I'm glad that we're having this talk.
So we need to wrap it up today. Does anybody have a good closing summary for our listeners and a to-do item?
This is my not it. I was Phil. You're it.
Phil's it.
So
listen, I did like the last two, not it.
Right. Can we challenge ourselves? Like when it seems like in the beginning of the day that everything is going to go to hell, is ask ourselves, one, what thoughts am I having about where this day is going? And then two, have we gone through this before? Like what's the best case scenario? What is the possibility here? Because 99 times out of 100, and this is evidence-based, the things that we worry about do not come to fruition.
And
we
maybe
spend a
Oprah
hell of a lot
shows
of our
up.
time. Yeah. And maybe Oprah shows up. But what doesn't happen is the whole thing doesn't go to hell and I'm living in my car with 27 birds.
And with
that's the best wrap up ever.
Best wrap up, yes. So thank you everybody for listening today and knowing that Phil is bird free in his car when he goes home.
Maybe one though.
Maybe one, maybe just one bird in the passenger seat.
Have one. Yeah.
And we will catch you all next time. Thank you for listening. Bye.